on today's episode of All About Life with Danielle Brown.
I thought that the better that I looked, the more that he would love me. I would get home at night and pretty much binge. Do one thing every single day to move the needle forward.
Reagan, welcome to All About Life. How are you?
I am doing well, Danielle. How are you?
I am doing so good. I am so stoked for this conversation. Since we chatted on the phone last week, full disclosure for everyone joining our conversation, I just know that your life is so relatable to not just women, but especially women. And you are someone that you probably don't even know that I look up to in the health fitness industry. So, to start us off, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been such a joy to get to know you, and thank you for that. So my name is Reagan. Obviously, I live in Nashville currently. I was in Greenville, South Carolina, so that's how I know Danielle. But
Woot woot.
yes, and I'm currently a nutrition coach. So I get to work with women and men through their nutrition journey and help them find a sustainable lifestyle where it's something that is enjoyable and something that they can do for the rest of their life. So it's the best job ever.
Ooh, I can't wait to get into this and how to find out more about how you got into nutrition coaching. But what does that look like your day to day? You work with your clients one on one to build like what people should be eating, workouts. Give us the 411, the inside look on what it would look like, say, if I was a client to work with you.
Yeah, so initially we always set up a Zoom call to get started just to create a face-to-face interaction and just be like, hey, we're real, we're here,
Yeah.
and just talking through everything. Because at the end of the day, people are people and people want to feel connected, they want to feel heard, they want to feel loved. And I believe that through nutrition coaching and my job, like it's 100% my purpose. But we always start with a Zoom call and just getting to know the person, what their life looks like, what their day to day looks like, where they've been in the past few years with their health and fitness goals, and then where they want to be in the next year. So, initially, it's always super important to just set realistic goals and do things that are going to be sustainable and really find what's going to work for each individual person. Because if I have a client that's 25 and single, their goals and their day-to-day structure is going to look completely different than one of my moms with 3 kids that goes to the gym at 8 o'clock at night. So just finding some small things that clients can adhere to initially and slowly building week by week. So with their nutrition plans and with where we start with nutrition, just kind of taking a look at what they're eating currently and slowly making some small adjustments to their food quality, and honestly eating a little bit more food to just support their overall health, metabolism, and especially women, their hormonal health.
I need all of the tips and tricks that I hope you're willing to share with us a little later in this conversation. But I think we have to start at the beginning. How did you get into nutrition and coaching? Where did this start to become a passion of yours?
Yeah, so I've always grown up playing sports, being in the gym and being healthy is something that I've always seen for myself and through my childhood and into college. So once I got to college, I did play softball in college. So my activity and the pressure to perform was definitely there. About my sophomore year of college, I've always went to the gym, but I got pretty serious about it freshman year. My roommate and I would start going and actually start lifting weights because we understood that in order to get the look that we wanted, we did have to lift weights. So my sophomore year of college is when I'm just going to get real here.
Get real. It's all about getting real.
I got into a new relationship And it was kind of my first real relationship. And I basically, like, to the point, I thought that the better that I looked, the more that he would love me, right?
Mhm.
And this is kind of when my relationship with food started going downhill. I've always had a good relationship with food. Like, I think back to high school, my freshman year of college, food was just food. And I
Right.
never really struggled with my body image or how I perceived food. Um, but once I got in that relationship, my relationship with food and my relationship with the gym just kind of went all over the place. So I started exercising twice a day. So I was running for about an hour a day. I was in the gym lifting weights about 2 hours a day. And then I had 3 hours of softball practice every single day. So a lot of activity. I was, moving a lot, burning a lot of calories. And I thought the more I was moving and the less I ate, the better I would look. And this really spiraled into a negative relationship with food where I was eating minimal throughout the day. And then I would get home at night and pretty much binge on everything. And this was a cycle that happened for about a year and a half, up until the end of my junior year of college. So it was a cycle that in the moment, I really didn't realize how bad it was. I always had my coach say, Reagan, like, you don't look healthy. And I got down to about 130 pounds. For reference, now I'm 165 pounds. So it was a very unhealthy weight for me and unhealthy body size for me. Um, but I just remember like how I felt in that moment, and literally every single night I would look up like how to stop binge eating, or like crying myself to sleep, or it was just this terrible cycle. So eventually it just hit me one day, and I broke down. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I cannot live like this. Like, food is consuming my thoughts. All I'm thinking about is my body image, constantly body checking, constantly just looking in the mirror, thinking about when I can exercise or when I can eat next. And I wasn't able to be present and just be where my feet are. Um, so into my junior year, it was kind of a big realization for me. And I really started to challenge my food thoughts and pulled back my workouts a little bit because I knew that I had to be healthy. And that's when my mentality with the gym and food kind of switched from I don't exercise, I don't eat to look a certain way, but to perform a certain way on the softball field, but to also live and value my health and how I'm treating my body. So it really was something that affected my relationship with my boyfriend at the time, my friends, parents, and I wasn't myself. So being there and seeing how that felt, I felt like I was really alone in that moment, and that I saw all these other people have such a healthy relationship with food in the gym, and like they didn't really think about food or care what they ate. And I envied them for it. I was like, I wish I could get to that point one day. And at one point I never really thought I could get there, but that's kind of what sparked my passion for nutrition coaching. Once I started an Instagram, which is my Instagram now, my senior year of college or junior year of college, where I just started sharing recipes, workouts. It was more of an accountability account. So that way I could just put it out there, because I knew that if I held on to it, the more power that I gave it over me, which happens with all of our insecurities that we have about ourselves. But
Sure.
the more that I started speaking out about it, the more that I started talking about it, the more that I realized that, hey, there's a lot of people that struggle with this. There's a lot of women that struggle with their relationship with food. And post college, I had a sales job for a few months, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. Like, I was constantly just, checking in on people that would message me on Instagram that would talk about, what did you do to do this? And how did you get over this? And eventually I invested in myself, and I started my own business with my nutrition coaching. So that was kind of where that came from. And as much as it was so tough to really struggle, that almost 2 years, I know that it was happened for a reason. And because I went through, I'm about to start crying, because I went through that, I'm able to give back and I'm able to help women that feel so alone in their journey get through the same thing.
Oh,
Oh.
you're gonna make me cry. Here's what I love is that like it's still so raw, like the emotions of like this
Mhm.
is not just like a story, this is, and I say this, I feel like almost every interview, this is, or conversation, I like to say, this is your real life, and you have used what you've experienced to then help other people. And I, just said I felt so alone in that, and when I finally started talking about it and sharing it, so many people came to me and related to that. And then I felt like I had support. I felt like a community. I'm going to get emotional saying that because that's the whole reason I started this podcast and YouTube, is because I've felt that in my own life with my own struggles, because we all have them, no matter if it's in the gym or with addiction or with the relationships. Everyone has something they're struggling with, and then everyone feels so alone and feels like you can't talk about it, and then you start sharing and there's community and there's hope. And then look at you now. How long has it been now since you have been coaching? Since your junior year you started your Instagram, and now you're coaching and it's like your full-time life and job. How long has it been for you?
Yeah, so coming up on 2 years, which is crazy to think about. I
It's
mean,
crazy to see like the growth in what's only happened in 2 years. Because think about if you never started that your junior year of college, look at all the lives you wouldn't have been able to help. And look how your life has been helped because you said, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to put myself out there and be bold. And let's see what happens. I'm amazed.
absolutely. It's so crazy because I remember starting it. Side note, I went to a college with 600 people. So if you did something, if you posted something on Instagram, everyone knew about it. So with me starting that Instagram, I was like, what are people at my school going to say? Like they see me taking these videos in the gym and they're just like, oh, Reagan's posting on Instagram again. But the uncomfortableness that just starting that Instagram account, as silly as it seems, I think we can apply this to anything too, because we're always scared of what people are going to think when something actually is our passion. Um, and how the tables have turned as to the reality, like people didn't care that I started an Instagram, and it was all these lies that I was just telling myself, that people were going to judge me, people were going to think differently of me because I did struggle with an eating disorder. Um, and again, when I felt so alone in it and I started talking about it on Instagram, I had girls on my softball team come up to me and talk to me about it. And people that I had class with, and girls that I would see in passing at school and never had a conversation with, come up to me and start asking me about it. And I think it's cool to see how it really has come full circle, and the uncomfortableness of doing that one thing that I really wanted to do, but I was scared to do. And now is my whole life, and I wouldn't be where I am without it.
I'm encouraged because I'm way out of college now. Like I'm 26. And even for me, starting this show has been something I've always said I was going to do for years. I have been wanting to do my own thing and to talk about this and to start these conversations. And I'm even nervous about it. And I'm like a grown woman and I'm nervous to like post about it because I left TV, I left that industry, and I don't want this to be seen as some like backup plan, and what are people going to think? And quite the opposite of every person I've told. And of course, it's been like my family and friends. It's not like I'm chatting with strangers quite yet, but it's nothing but support. It's nothing but, oh my gosh, that's so good. We need that right now. Like, tell me when I can tune in. I want to share it. Like, so this is a complete sidebar from our conversation, but for anyone joining this conversation, go for it. Start the Instagram, start the YouTube, change jobs if it's whatever it is, follow your passion because God has gifted us all with different talents. Like Reagan's is all about food and health and lifestyle, sleep, everything that goes into that. I am not an expert in that field, so that's why I brought Reagan in. But you know what I can do is I can talk to people. I can start conversations. So sidebar from our conversation today, do it. Go for it. You have Reagan and I's support,
No,
whatever
that's so
it
true.
is.
That's so true. And I think we each have a purpose and a passion, and you just have to find that vessel to get that. And whether that is through a podcast, whether it's through an Instagram, maybe it's through a new job, like you never know until you try. And if you fell, then you fell and you know that you tried, but you just don't want to look back. And if you would say no to this podcast, if you would have said no to God to this podcast, or if I would have said no to as simple as starting an Instagram, like how different would life be?
Yeah. How different would it be for us, but also how different would it be for like for you, the women and men who like literally their lives have changed and been impacted because you've allowed God to work through you. My favorite kind of like quote, if you will, now is who am I to limit what the Lord can do? If I am just a vessel for him, Lord, show me what can be done. Let me be a servant to you for people to hear and see you. Okay, I feel like I'm about to get on like my preacher stand. So let me back up because this conversation is about you. Reagan, let's talk about the men and women who are new to a healthy lifestyle. They're new to the gym. They're not quite sure how to eat healthy or what that even looks like or means. So if you have someone coming to you new, or for people joining us, this is a loaded question, but what are some basics? What advice do you give people just starting out? What are the fundamentals?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so easy to look at where you want to be and just get completely overwhelmed, especially with social media, because you scroll down one thing and you see that you need to be doing this. And then the next person says you should be doing this. And it can be overwhelming and it just causes you not even to start. I think I've seen that. You've probably seen that. I mean, we've all been there. But I always remind my clients, and even with myself too, like this is a constant journey for me as well. So I don't want it to seem like I have everything figured out, because it is something that I have to work on daily as well. But I always say you can't squat 100 pounds until you can squat the bar first, right?
That's
You
good.
can't lose 50 pounds until you lose 2 pounds. So just one, show yourself grace that you're going to fail. You are going to get discouraged. You're going to have days that are really hard and you are wondering why you even started, but you have to be easy on yourself, because every day truly is like a new day and a new opportunity. But as far as fundamentals to get started, one, I would say choose one meal that you want to improve. So, a lot of people, general pop, their food quality isn't the best where it needs to be, right? So instead of trying to change every single meal and have a clean breakfast, a clean lunch, and a clean dinner, it can be very overwhelming and sometimes a little bit restrictive. So choosing one meal that you want to work on for the week, maybe it's breakfast. So starting out with a lot of clients that are new and are starting very fundamentally, our goal for the first week is I want you to make a protein shake every single morning. So, first thing, you're getting up, you're doing this one thing for yourself. You're starting your day with a high protein meal with some good micronutrients, and whatever you eat the rest of the day, I don't care, but I want you to get your protein smoothie in every single day. So, that can look like 1 scoop of protein powder, half a cup of frozen berries or a banana, some almond milk or some oat milk, put a cup of spinach in there, add chia seeds, blend it up. Super easy. You have some fats, you have some carbs, you have some protein.
Mhm.
So I always say, start small, start with one meal, perfect your breakfast. And then once you get in the swing of that and it becomes a habit, then okay, let's work on lunch. instead of having potato chips and Jimmy John's for lunch every day, which has great options. Um, let's work on having a fruit as your side and then having maybe some chicken breast and having a protein source with some rice. So perfect that meal. And then you just slowly kind of keep building there. Next is going to be movement. So start with some form of movement, 30 minutes of movement a day. Instead of, you see a lot of people that don't work out at all. They're like, I'm going to commit to 5 days in the gym and I'm going to do this, then I'm going to run on top of that and get my steps in, which is completely overwhelming. Like that's a lot for me sometimes on the busy weeks. So get 30 minutes of movement a day. That can be walking outside. It can be doing a spin class. It can be going to the gym and just lifting weights for 30 minutes. But exercise needs to be something that you enjoy. Obviously, as you have different goals, there's going to be different kinds of exercises that are going to support those goals. But starting out, exercise should be what you look forward to doing. So if you really love doing yoga, do yoga. If you love spin classes, do spin classes. If you love going to CrossFit, do CrossFit, but find something that you look forward to doing. Because if you do something that you necessarily don't enjoy doing, you can develop a negative relationship with it and it can become more of a chore. Like you have to go work out rather than you get to go work out and move your body. And then lastly, which is the biggest one, which is the hardest for a lot of people, is sleep and recovery.
I knew you were going to say sleep and I knew it was coming because I feel called out because I feel like, okay, like as you're giving all these like tips, like what you should focus on, I'm like, oh, I kind of did that. Okay, I'm doing that. Ooh, third one's hard.
Gotcha.
Tell us, Reagan, tell me about sleep. You're speaking straight to me.
I know. And don't we all? It's definitely something that I think, think back to college, like you could stay up late and get up early and you'd survive the day. Like you would be fine. But as you slowly progressing, like we do get older, obviously, recovery and sleep is one of the biggest things inside of just health and body composition, and even like hormonal health too. But giving yourself, so our sleep cycles work in 1.5-hour cycles. So ideally, if you can get, like, you think 6 hours or 7.5 hours of sleep consistently every single night, that's going to be the best bet. But when you don't get enough sleep, that affects your hunger hormones, so like your leptin and your ghrelin. It affects your nutrition. Like you're going to be more apt to choose more sugary, refined carbs rather than you choosing a salad because you want a salad at lunch. So it really does affect every aspect of our health. So one thing that really, actually just posted about it on Instagram last night, but sleep hygiene is something that you can really work on without even really having to do anything. So sleeping in a cold room, wearing some blue light blocking glasses about 2 or 3 hours before bed. Sleep mask is a great option. And then lastly is to get sunlight early in the day. So our circadian rhythm is what is going to affect our sleep. So if we can get sunlight early in the day, that's going to help us wind down better at night, not only with your sleep, but then also just with your serotonin and your happiness levels too. So sunlight plays a huge role, not only in your health, but your sleep too.
Oh, goodness. The sleep. I'm feeling convicted, Reagan, because it is so hard to feel like I see these things on Instagram. You're trying to excel in work, you're trying to excel in your social life, you're trying to eat healthy, you're trying to work out, you're trying to get enough sleep. And people, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed and that you're not doing things right. And one of my goals this year has been, and I kind of feel in my own journey, I've had to do it in pieces, whether it's working out, whether it's eating healthy, I've kind of had to slowly grow and add things on, which I guess like if I'm listening to you, it means I'm doing something right. At least I'm not trying to like jump, cannonball into the deep end. I'm like getting myself used to how cold the water is. But on Instagram, and you've already mentioned this, to not compare yourself to everything you're seeing on social media, but I always see these morning routines on Instagram and they look so like fancy and cute. They're pouring their lemon water, they're making the smoothie, they're making their bed, they're opening the windows and letting all that sunlight in. And I agree. We chatted about, I had a slow morning this morning. I was supposed to wake up for the gym. I didn't. So I was like, you know what? I'll still wake up, have a good slow morning. Made the bed. I opened the windows. I made oatmeal for breakfast and had my lemon water. But even as I did that, I was like, well, it doesn't look as cute as it does on Instagram. My water was in a plastic cup, not in a fancy glass jar like everyone else has. I this is okay, I'm about to be real. Pulled out my strawberries to add to my oatmeal. They were moldy, had to throw them away. That's just keeping it real. So I only had blueberries because last week, or like earlier this week, my raspberries had mold. So I'm not happy with where I bought my fruit. So I had to throw that away. So Instagram can look so glamorous. And then you look at your real life and you're like, man, I was doing all these things they did, and it doesn't feel that glamorous.
Mhm.
How do we cope with that, Reagan? Because it's kind of hard. And I know everyone says, don't compare yourself. Well, that's really hard to not compare yourself, at least for me. And I'm sure people listening can agree to that.
Absolutely. It is hard. And you always hear Instagram's a highlight reel. And it really is, because I'm thinking about some things I've shared and I'm like, wow, my life does not look like that. Like, it is not as pretty as it always seems on Instagram. And one thing that has really helped me is muting some people or unfollowing people that may trigger me or may make me feel that I'm not doing enough or good enough. Because one thing that you have to remind yourself too, that a lot of people that do Instagram for their full-time jobs, like it is their full-time job, right? They
True.
have mornings. They can start work at 11 o'clock if they want. They don't have to be in the office at 8 a.m. and get 3 kids ready for school and have a husband that they have to make breakfast for. That is their full-time job, right? And I think if you think about Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings sometimes where you're not rushed to start the day, then that's very doable, is to have an hour-long morning routine when you don't have 10 things that you have to do for the day, rather than a Monday morning where you're waking up late and you're rushed going to work. So again, showing yourself grace, but then remembering that your life is completely different than theirs, and staying in your own lane is something that's so important. Like I have to remind myself that with my exercise, with my nutrition, is that these people have been developing some of these habits for years and working towards these things, and they didn't get there overnight. But then sometimes I think about too is that I could make a 30-second reel of my morning routine and make it whatever I want it to be, and go on a 10-minute walk and make my lemon water and make a smoothie and do my mobility, or maybe start my day with some yoga. But it would be so easy for me to do that. But the reality is that I don't do that. But how easy would it be to make myself present myself that way, right? And
True.
no one would ever know. Nobody would ever know. But
Mm.
the reality is like, I don't do that. And sometimes a lot of the people don't. But like you said, just starting with one thing and just kind of slowly tiptoeing your way there.
Yeah. You know what's bad is, well, I love what you said, is if you're a mom and you have 3 kids and you have a husband and you have a full-time job in an office, or even if you work from home and you have dishes, your life is going to look very different than, like you said, your client who's 25 and single and lives on their own, and their full-time job is social media and to work out. Obviously, like, have different expectations because your reality is very different. Something I also do, and this is like, you're just preaching to me. So everyone joining in, this is all about apparently me today, is in the gym, I'm bad at comparison. I will hit like a PR. Say like I was super pumped about hitting this squat PR and I have a goal and we're keeping it real. My goal this year was to squat 200 pounds, which like for you, Reagan, you're like, oh, I did that forever ago. But I've never done that. And I'm super pumped if I can squat 200 pounds. I actually hit a PR and then my form's a little off. So now I'm kind of regressing and going back, making sure my form and everything looks good because that's like super important. You don't want to get hurt in the gym. And Solomon, my husband, my husband is really good about a PR is a personal record. Like you should be excited when you're hitting your goals. The gym is not, a sport team. It's all about you. And he would even say, like, he played football in college and he was really good on the field. He's like, but I was weak in the gym and I didn't care because I was good at what I did. Daniel, you can be good at what you did. So I was really excited when I hit this PR for my squat. And then I got on Instagram and I saw other friends of mine who are squatting way more than me. And immediately I got discouraged. And I hate admitting that because I'm so happy for them. I'm so pumped that they're crushing it in the gym. And I have to remind myself that I've been doing this for like 2 years. They've been doing this like for 4 years. And so I'm pumped for them. And it doesn't take away anything that I've done, but I think that's hard when you get in the gym and you feel like you're doing good and then you see someone else. So what do you do? Does that ever happen to you, Reagan? Make me feel a little better maybe that, hey, it's normal. This is going to happen. Here's how I combat that.
Yeah, that is so real, especially going back to Instagram and just constantly comparing yourself. But it's definitely something that I struggle with too. I started CrossFit about a year ago, and in Nashville is where some of the top athletes in the world train. Mm-hmm. So I've got to be friends with them and I get to see them and I get to see them work out. And although they've been training for this for 7 years and I just started, I hit a PR and I'm like, oh man, I feel so strong. I feel so good. And then I just out of curiosity, I'll look at someone else's PR, like you can search it online. And I'm like, they're doing twice of what I just did. And I have to remind myself again that, you can't squat 200 until you squat 190, but also remembering that you're in no rush, right? Because once you hit 200, it's not, or whenever you hit a goal, it's not like the sky is going to open up and there's going to be this big party. Like it's a PR. And then you're going to be like, okay, now I want to hit 205. Now I want to hit 10. Now I want to hit 225. And it's just a constant goal. So if you think about it, we're constantly chasing goals and there's not an end goal that you're necessarily working towards. And I think about this with weightlifting in the gym. I tell clients this that do want to lose weight is that once you hit 180, it's not like you're going to wake up the next day and your life is going to be instantly better. You're going to be like, okay, I want to hit 170 and I'm working towards that. So finding a roadmap that's going to get you to that one specific goal and just keeping your head down and working on that, whether it takes 1 month, whether it takes 7 months, you're going to get there eventually, right? Another thing that really helps me too is having a growth mindset towards these things, because the people, like I said, we're all people, we're all human, we all have things that we struggle with and work towards, but seeing someone else hit that goal or be successful at it, you can either see it one of two ways. You can either see it as they have something that I don't have, like I'm just good for them, but I'll never get there, and seeing it kind of as defeat, or seeing it with a growth mindset of, hey, I know her and I have a lot in common with her and we grew up together, and if she can do it, I can do it too. And really using that almost a little disappointment as something to fuel you to get there. And because other people are successful, you tell yourself that means that I can do it too if someone else can do it. I think that's a big thing for me.
I love that. And it kind of goes along with this like girls empower girls thing, like, and I'm loving this movement of like, someone else's success doesn't take away from my success. I can be happy and pumped for my friends and also be happy and pumped for myself. How you described having like a roadmap. Hey, you're going to hit that PR and you're going to want another PR. So just stay in the grind, stay in the hustle, be excited when you do, cheer yourself on, and then get right back to the work. It reminds me on my honeymoon, we went on this hike that I will never do again. It was like the hardest hike. Solomon and I went to Hawaii. So we were hiking in Maui, and it was like the highest point of the island. And it was like used to be a volcano, and it was all sand. Literally, it was called, everyone look it up, Sliding Sand Trail, I think is the name. And it takes 11 hours for a professional to hike all the way around. Solomon and I did not have that time because we were actually flying out that day. And we went down, saw like one kind of like crevice thing and walked back up. And walking back up was horrible. And Solomon and I, like, we work out, we eat healthy, like, we try and live a healthy life. And we're seeing everyone else on this trail. Like, I mean, there was like a 5-year-old doing it. So I'm like, oh, we can do this. Walking back up was torture. We were sore for the rest of the week. And Solomon, walking back up, I would like walk really fast and have to take a break, then walk really fast and take a break. I would like to point out that I did finish the trail before him. I got back before he did. But Solomon was a steady. He never stopped. He never sped up. He was a steady pace the whole time. And I would like walk by him and he'd be like, checkpoint, walk another 5 minutes, checkpoint. And in his head, what he was doing was setting his own PR, if you will. And he would like see a rock and be like, that's my checkpoint. And when he hit it, checkpoint. And then he would see another rock or whatever and say checkpoint. And when he hit it, and then he made it all the way to the top. And he was like, I've made it. So in the gym, he just squatted 110. He just squatted 125. He just squatted 160. I mean, you're not going to jump from 125 to 160 or you're like a beast in the gym. But it reminds me of that slow and steady, be proud of yourself. It's something I've talked to my own friends about. I think I see kind of two sides when it comes to girls in the gym. Is either you have girls who are like beast and squatting and getting strong, and then I have friends who are scared to lift weights because you hear this all the time. I don't want to get bulky. And someone recently made a comment about, oh, the female section. And they were talking about like all the cardio, so like all the treadmills and like 5-pound dumbbells. And I kind of took offense to that because I'm like, well, one, guys need to do cardio too. And two, girls are out here crushing it and lifting heavy things. Like we're not just stuck in the treadmill, and that's not necessarily what's best for our health. So let's talk about the image and aesthetics of working out and those girls and women who are scared of getting bulky and like what does that even mean, Reagan, when people say that to you?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's so true in the gym. I mean, I do feel there's two types of, you're at one end of the spectrum. Either like you're very confident in the gym, or this is something that's very new to you and it's a little bit scary. But to make people feel better, I do think the girls that are confident in the gym, like I'm very confident in the gym. Everyone has insecurities. And something that I have made it a point to do in the gym is that if I see a girl in the gym that maybe is very confident and intimidates me a little bit, I'll give her a compliment. Whether it's, hey, I like your outfit, or hey, your back looks amazing. One, it closes the space of me feeling insecure. And then same thing, if I see someone in the gym that is starting out, just encouraging them and be like, hey, like I've seen you here a few days this week, like good job, whatever. But knowing that this girl could be having a bad day, that I told her I liked her outfit, that's crushing it in the gym. And same thing with the girl that's just starting out, like maybe that gave her some encouragement. So that's something that I really encourage. I do it with myself, but I encourage other women to do too, because we're all in this together. Like we all have insecurities, we all struggle with body image. but just kind of breaking the barrier there. But as far as training for aesthetics, the reality is that women really should be training the same way as men, with compound movements, with strength training, with whether you're squatting 50 pounds, whether you're squatting 200 pounds, but really just nailing down those basic movement patterns. So I think of a squat, I think of a hinge, which can be like a deadlift or an RDL, some kind of lunge, so reverse lunges, walking lunges, some kind of press, so a shoulder press, a bench press, and just very basic things and very basic movements. Because the reality of it is, females, we're not eating enough to get bulky. We're not eating enough to put on a ton of fat mass. I mean, you really would have to be pushing realistically 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day for a good period of time. It is hard for us to build muscle. It's easier for guys to build muscle, and guys naturally eat a lot more. But I would say 95% of women undereat in the first place. So you really would have to push your food extremely high and eat a lot of carbs. So the reality of it is you're not going to get bulky, but in order to get that toned look that a lot of females are chasing, you have to have muscle mass. Um, if you go on a diet right now to lose weight and to get leaner, a lot of people are disappointed when they get to the end of their diet. They lose 10, 15 pounds and they say, I didn't think I would look like this, but it's because they don't have enough muscle mass to actually have those um, the developed physique that they want.
Yeah.
So,
I love that you say that because like I do weight training and that's what I prefer to do in the gym. And then I try to incorporate hit workouts, like shout out to my brother-in-law's gym, like Junkyard if you're in the upstate, like I go there. But then I also try and incorporate yoga every now and then or going to like a spin class because while I have what I enjoy, I think everything, adding a little bit of everything is good for your heart, good for your overall health. So, what do you say to the people who are trying to find what they enjoy? You mentioned it earlier, especially if you're starting out, find what you enjoy doing. What do you do for overall health? What are good things to add in workout wise?
yeah, that's a great question. As far as exercising, a lot of times with females with lifting weights, it's going to be a completely new stimulus on your body in the first place. Same thing when you slowly switch up your nutrition to eat more protein, it's going to be a new stimulus. So your body is probably going to respond fairly quickly just because it's new. So finding a good balance of what you enjoy, but also realizing that if you have a certain aesthetic goal, that your training does need to support that. So a lot of my clients, they do enjoy the HIIT classes and the group classes and CrossFit. I have a ton of clients that go to the Junkyard and they absolutely love it. Um, but they do have some more specific aesthetic goals, and in order to get those goals, you need to have a program and a periodized program that is going to focus on progressive overload. So a lot of my clients that do go to Orange Theory, F45, different things like that, they will strength train 2 or 3 days a week where they're in the gym, they are focusing on the compound movements, lifting heavy weight, really no cardio, no implementing jump squats, any kind of HIIT, focusing on just solely lifting weights. And then 1 or 2 days a week, they'll go to those classes because they enjoy them and they get to go with their friends. So finding a good balance, but then also knowing too that you can always switch up your training. So for me specifically, I've always done more bodybuilding style workouts. Went through a phase when I was in Greenville, worked out at the Junkyard, did the Junkyard 2 or 3 days a week, did bodybuilding 2 or 3 days a week. I loved it. It helped me hit my aesthetic goal, also helped me spend time with my friends too.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, like a lot of the stuff that we worry about, it doesn't matter. And I ultimately, like, I want to have fun and I want to make
Yep.
memories with friends and do those things.
Yeah.
Then I started doing CrossFit for about a year. Really enjoyed that. My body composition did completely change because it was a new stimulus on my body.
Mhm.
And now, the past month, I have been switching back into some more aesthetic bodybuilding style workouts. So, lowered the intensity of my workouts, not killing myself every day in the gym, right? But doing the bodybuilding workouts about 4 days a week, doing a CrossFit workout 1 day a week because I like to compete with my friends. So finding
I
a good
love it.
balance.
Yeah, keep it fun. Enjoy what you're doing. I do want to go back and touch on something that you said a little bit ago because I think people are going to freak out when they hear this is 95% of women are under eating.
Mm,
Because I think there is this thing, I guess we're just born like raised into it. I don't know, like where you want to eat the rice cake for breakfast with banana and then a salad for lunch and then you have to have chicken and rice for dinner. We've talked about, I know I have like an addictive personality, and so if I start counting calories or things like that, I become like obsessed with it. And I
mm,
know that for me that's not going to be healthy in my just overall health. um so when it comes to eating and in the kitchen, because everyone says, isn't it like what you do in the kitchen's 80% and what you do in the gym is only 20% of
mhm.
being healthy and being fit? So let's talk the kitchen. What do we need to know about eating? And I know you're big about getting your protein in. So shed some light on that for us who are kind of freaking out at that statement that we're not eating enough.
Yeah. So a lot of our eating habits are kind of ingrained in us, and we don't even really realize it. So a lot of times our relationship with food and how we view food and how we eat is based on what happened when we were growing up. So how we saw our mom eat, how we saw our mom talk about food, or the girls in college that we hung out with, like how did they talk about food? How did they view food? And those things subconsciously get ingrained into our brains. I think I've had some conversations with women, and it absolutely breaks my heart that their mom put them on Weight Watchers when they were about 8 years old. And they had no clue that those that was bad whatsoever, but now it's reflected in their adult life, and they constantly feel like their body is not good enough or they need to be on a diet, all from that one small action. So one, going into a relationship with food, I think it's important to kind of dig back and be aware of, where do those thoughts come from? Why do we undereat? Are we subconsciously trying to restrict out of negativity towards our body? Or is it just something that is just kind of a habit? But everyone's body is going to have different requirements for the calories that they need. So someone that's 5'4" and 130 pounds isn't going to need as much calories throughout the day as maybe myself. I'm 5'8" and 165 pounds,
Mhm.
right? So I have more body mass, so I need more calories. So everyone's going to be so different. But as far as protein, yes, a lot of women do undereat protein. And this is where a lot of my clients do start, is we'll just focus on a protein goal, having protein at every single meal. So typically you're going to see different ranges for how much protein that you need, but zero point 0.8 to 1.2 grams per pound is a goal to start with. So if you're 150 pounds, realistically, anywhere from 135, 140-ish to 160 is going to be a good protein range for you. But even just the initial new stimulus on your body of eating more protein, you're going to see your body composition change. So protein is the most satiating macronutrient, so it is going to keep you fullest the longest. but it's also going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis in your body. So going to help fuel your workouts, but also help hold on to all the muscle mass that you do have. So that is a huge thing inside of nutrition, is that it is the most satiating. So a lot of times if you have a breakfast of just a cereal or a rice cake and banana, you're going to be lacking the protein side of things. While those are great options, just add a protein to it. So maybe that's a protein shake. Maybe that is some eggs or egg whites or some chicken even for breakfast. Like, you don't have to have chicken just for lunch. But supplementing it with that protein source is, one, going to make you feel a lot better, but two, it's going to keep you fuller instead of having that very just carb focused breakfast and your blood sugar spiking and then constantly just craving sugary foods throughout the day. It's going to help regulate those blood sugar levels as well.
I think it's so important what you noted, that, hey, when you start eating healthy, like say you start getting the amount of protein that you should be getting, your body may change and it might not look like you thought it would look. I remember when I started working out, I've been on my healthy living fitness journey for 2 to 3 years now. It was after college, really. Like, I would work out in college, like going on a run or going to the gym every now and then, but it wasn't until my first year out of college, so 3 years, oh my gosh, that I like started getting in the gym, started lifting weights. Shout out to Coach Scott, who I worked for the athletic department. So I would go in the gym and be completely new. I had no idea what to do or how to lift weights. And I'd go in there and he would create a program for me. I think he probably did it because I was dating Solomon and he was like being kind to the girlfriend, but I really did appreciate it because then it gave me confidence. And you can be like me if you're new. Followed people on Instagram, learned new techniques, ask people who know in the gym. Thankfully, I had Solomon who's been working out since high school. And so he can like watch my form. But I remember when I started working out, I would tell people, I'm not doing this to be healthy. Like, I could have cared less about longevity. I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to be comfortable or have my bikini summer bod. And then it started shifting as I kept working out. I remember distinctly one time going to the gym after a hard day at work, and I was in the worst mood. And I went in, lifted weights, worked out, and I left smiling and laughing, and I was in the best mood. And that's when things shifted for me, that I was like, wait, I actually enjoy the gym. Like, I like feeling strong. And then my mind shift changed from looking a certain way to being healthy and feeling strong, like to now see like I have muscle, like in tone and definition. I feel good. I'm starting to set goals for myself. And then because I've had that mind shift change, I don't mind so much what I look like anymore. Yes, there's results from eating healthy and working out. And yes, I still have cosmetic. Oh, I would like a few more abs, or oh, I would like, whatever it is, my thighs to be a little slimmer, which can't happen if you want nice glutes. And I would rather have nice glutes than small thighs, is all I'm going to say, ladies. But there was this mind shift change for me of I feel strong and then I feel healthy. But I think it's so hard for women. Even now, I struggle with that because I'm like, oh, I want smaller thighs, but I also want a big butt. It's hard to get away from the aesthetics and to wanting a certain body image. So, can we talk about that mind shift change, and how do we go from I'm doing this to look one way to I'm doing this to be healthy and to live a long, full life?
Yeah, that is a great question, because I think that's something that we've all struggled with, and a lot of people do struggle with. And it's so easy to go back to that mindset.
Right.
Like, it's so easy to slip back into that. But I think going back to that, this isn't a race, but you're going to hit a point of burnout. Like, if you're going to the gym because you hate your body, you can only go to the gym so many times before you're just like, screw this, and you give it up completely. But I think once you do have that mindset shift that you do want to focus on your overall health, and you start to see that the small commitment that you make to yourself in the gym of just getting to the gym really does pour over into every single part of your life, and your quality of life improves and you start to value yourself in other areas of your life. It helps really to make this a lifestyle and make it something that's fun. And again, going back to once you get that one aesthetic goal that you really, really want, you're just going to have another goal. And there's more to life than that. And one thing that really helps me and that I use with a lot of my clients is the triangle of awareness. So I think about there's 3 different points to the triangle. So you have aesthetics, you have performance, and you have health and longevity. So if your goal is aesthetics constantly, your performance is going to suffer sometimes, and then your health is going to suffer too. So if that means that, if you're under eating because you have a goal, or you're dieting because you have an aesthetic goal, realistically your body can't do that forever, and your hormones are definitely going to tank. You may lose your period. You may not ovulate anymore. Like, your health starts to decline a little bit. If your goal is truly your health and focusing on restoring your metabolism or your hormones, sometimes your body may not look the best and your performance can suffer a little bit, but you're healthy, you're happy, you're optimizing every single area of your life. And then same thing with performance. Like, if you're trying to hit PRs, like you said, or grow your glutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some areas of your aesthetics may suffer. You may lose sight of your abs, or you may have to eat a little bit more just to grow that specific body part. But I think it's important to know that your goals can always change, and you're going to have different seasons where you get to where you want with your glutes and you're like, I want to lose a few pounds, or I want to look a little bit leaner. So then the next 12 weeks, my goal is aesthetics. But I think that's one thing that I have to constantly even remind myself of too, is that when you're focused on one area, sometimes other areas do start to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
But really looking at what's the most important thing to you in your season of life. Is it the gym and how you look? Okay, that's great, but your relationships may suffer a little bit. Your relationship with food may suffer a little bit. Or is it, hey, I just got married and I want to enjoy all the new restaurants and everything with my husband, and I'm living my best life and I exercise for fun and I'm hitting PRs some days. So I think it's important to really just see where you're at in your season of life, what your priority is, but really make the connection between how great your life is and your quality of life and your relationship with food, and just working out for yourself and not to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we said, like, it really does start to pour over into every part of your life. Like, when you love yourself and you love going to the gym for your health, you start to value yourself, and you may quit this job that is toxic, or you may get out of a toxic relationship, or you may not communicate with some girls that are maybe just really bad friends. So you start to see like how you start to value yourself more, and then that makes you appreciate it and makes you really focus on that more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, valuing yourself and your health, you're going to feel better. And I like what you talked about, where evaluate where you are and your season of life. And something, maybe the last thing, we'll see, I might come up with more questions, but something important to hit on as we're talking about starting out and while you're in it. But for those who are like, I've been in this for 4 years, we have to talk about burnout. And you kind of touched on that earlier in this conversation. And before I turn it over to you, the professional, I think for me, I've found where I allow myself rest days and I don't feel bad about it. I didn't go to the gym yesterday and I was like, oh, that's okay. Maybe I should have because I didn't work out over the weekend either. But I was like, hey, maybe my body needed that. I wasn't feeling great the day before, kind of slept a lot. No big deal. I'll pick it up. I'll rearrange my workout schedule. I'll be fine. The same when it comes to healthy eating. I have really healthy meals, but if I want a cookie because I'm craving it, I'm going to eat the cookie because I'm not going to gain 5 pounds. It's not going to stop me from hitting my PR. You're allowed to live your life because while working out makes me happy, cookies also make me happy. So let's talk out burnout though, because it can be sometimes when you go to the gym, you start seeing regression, or some days you're stronger than other days. It can get discouraging. How do you combat burnout?
Yeah, that's good. And it's hard to give yourself rest.
Mhm.
I think it's a win when you're able to honor your body and listen to your body and give yourself rest, because I've seen with myself, because we can tell when our bodies are fatigued, right? You kind of wake up in the morning and you're like, I probably need a rest day today, right? Not because you're feeling lazy, but because like your body truly needs rest. And you can probably relate to this too. Like if you try to push your body to go to the gym on those days, one, you shouldn't be there, so you dread it. But two,
Mhm.
that day's exercise and the next day's is affected. And it's just like this snowball effect
Mhm.
rather than, I know when I give my body rest and I honor that rest, my workout the next day is amazing.
Yep. I'm like
There's
pumped to go to the gym today because I didn't yesterday. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get back in it. I'm feeling strong. I'm more energized. So I know I'm going to I want to go and I have more energy to go because I didn't go yesterday.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, and it really makes you appreciate it so much more. But when you're able to give your body the rest and recovery that it needs, again, you do value yourself and you value your body and respect it. But again, finding if you do get burnt out in the type of exercise that you're doing, switch it up, find something new that you enjoy, add in some yoga, train for a 5K, do something different. That tends to help with burnout just from the monotony of things sometimes.
Hmm.
But always, it goes back to, if your body is not recovered and you're constantly pushing yourself to go to the gym when you need a rest day, you're doing more harm than good. And I always tell clients, going back to how important sleep is, I would rather you get an extra hour of sleep than go to the gym and do your cardio or do your workout.
Hmm.
Because with the science side of things, exercise is only 10% of our daily calories burned. 10%. That is such a small,
That's crazy.
right? It's
What?
insane, because I remember going to the gym. I would stay there an extra 30 minutes just to burn 400 calories on my Apple Watch. One,
Mhm.
they aren't even accurate. But two, at the end of the day, like, exercise is such a small percentage of our calories burned. So
Right.
the majority, that helps with rest days too, knowing that, just like the science behind it. But the majority of our calories burned throughout the day is, one, going to be just our body naturally burning calories to stay alive. But the second thing is going to be our non-exercise activity. So
Mhm.
that's like, I'm talking with my hands, like I'm burning calories doing that naturally. It's going to be your steps. It's going to be cleaning the house, walking around the house, like going on a walk, doing things that aren't necessarily exercise, is where your body is going to really expend the most calories inside of that. So on the days that I don't go to the gym or I don't exercise, I still try to get some steps in. Maybe I'll do some mobility or stretching, not only because that does give me a peace of mind, just knowing that I'm still taking care of my body and I'm not just laying on the couch all day, but knowing that the non-exercise side of things does help my
Mhm.
body recover in a different way too.
Mm. Reagan, this has been such a good and also insightful
Mhm.
conversation because just having a healthy lifestyle, working out, eating, I mean, it's a lifestyle, right? It's like a part of everything. And obviously, you are so passionate. It's something I'm passionate about. So thank you for coming on, for sharing all of your goodies and your nuggets. Of course, I'm going to share where everyone can find you so they can go steal more of your knowledge. But before we go, what is one thing that you tell someone, say someone slides in your DMs and they're like, I'm brand new or I've been in this. What's your favorite piece of knowledge or tidbit that you give someone? What can we leave our friends who are joining this conversation today with?
Yeah, I would say one thing that I am constantly just encouraging people with is do one thing every single day to move the needle forward. So whether
Mm,
that is an exercise, a workout, or maybe it's, hey, I drank my water for the day. If it's going to move you forward, then you're moving in the right direction.
I mean, mic drop on that. I can't top that. Reagan, thank you for your time, for your passion and sharing your life. But most importantly, thank you for being real.